what's up everybody, it's Daption, Challenger ADC and former competitive support, and 2026 is quietly one of the biggest system shifts bot lane has seen in years. These changes affect game progression, vision, and objective takes, and if you're not going to adapt, you're going to fall permanently behind. So here's the breakdown. First, lanes start earlier. Waves spawn at 30 seconds in the game now, as opposed to their previous 105. This change means that early game vision and invades are going to have to happen a lot quicker now. After 14 minutes, waves spawn every 25 seconds with -1 melee. After 30 minutes, waves spawn every 20 seconds with -1 melee and 1 caster, which means that after 30 minutes, there's going to be 3 waves spawning every minute, which is kind of crazy. Jungle camps now spawn at 55 seconds in the game with their jungle early game clears lowered in terms of speed to put emphasis on laners actually laning and not hoping for a jungle gank to salvage your entire lane. Feats of strength have now been removed in exchange for 100 gold extra on first blood and 300 gold extra on first turret. This is an overall better system than feats of strength, as the gold is streamlined into 1 objective rather than 3, and you can get it in a much more simple and quick manner. Turret plating's added to all turrets, barring the Nexus turrets, which would sound like a kind of OP change. In reality, the amount of gold given by these turrets is not going to be increased, it's just going to be more split. So there's a chance that gold from first turret is much less than before, so that they're split out between other turrets, or other turrets are now just going to give the same amount of gold as before, just split into more plates. Home guards is now going to be activated up until outer turret in the early game so that you can get to lane faster. But in mid game, home guards is going to be increased to the most push minion wave in any lane that you go towards. But this buff will be lost if you end up straying away from your lane or going straight into the jungle. This change promotes a lot more split pushing and much less jungle exploration adventures, which means that you're going to have a lot easier of a time to get into your lane and start farming, which is always amazing for ADCs. Nexus turrets now respawn at 40% health instead of 100, which makes split pushing a lot stronger, which definitely falls in line with Riot's other changes regarding top lane that we're going to talk about later. And crystalline overgrowth is a new mechanic, making swapping sides of the map you're split pushing towards a lot more effective. So there's going to be crystals that are going to be spawning on a turret if you don't touch the turret, and once you walk up to a turret with a lot of crystals, you'll deal an extra amount of damage, which is why moving around the map and swapping sides is going to become effective strategy. Now for the vision section, it's actually going to be the shortest for the ADC role, even though Riot is trying to make vision a lot more effective for other roles and not just support. The amount of implication ADCs will have with vision will be much more different than side laners, junglers, and supports. So the new mechanic added in the game is called Phalites, which is going to be a spot that is predetermined on the map. You can place a ward to reveal more vision than you usually would for that ward, but the set spawns are not necessarily going to be the only spawns in the game, as when the elemental soul is decided in the map, you're going to get a lot more of them. Now, the next part, pretty simple. You're just going to get more vision cones and more yellow trinkets just to get a lot more vision without having to implicate your support in a play. And now on the objective section, blood petals and Otacon are now going to be removed in exchange for Baron time being increased to 20 minutes. This in turn makes the game last a little bit less longer, but this next change is actually going to make objective taking a little bit more difficult. Epic monsters are now 15% more durable, increased with the more dragon buffs you have. There is a new mechanic called Dragon Vengeance, and it's a little unclear how Riot is going to be utilizing that in the game. I'm assuming that this Dragon Vengeance mechanic will only be applied to dragon, but it's possible that it's applied to other epic monsters as well. And it dictates that the more dragons you have, the longer it's going to take you to take another epic monster or dragon. Next up, Grubs and Rift are now going to be having stronger effects, which is kind of a question mark in my head because there weren't really any mention of numbers or any kind of ideas to how that's going to happen. Nevertheless, moving towards the comeback EXP from Drake and Baron, as it's going to be increased, which makes teams that are going to be falling behind a lot better equipped to fight against teams that are going to be snowballing a lot earlier. And lastly, the new role quest, which is the most exciting part of all these changes, you're going to have a quest, just like a support item or where you kill minions, champions, plates, turrets, or epic monsters. And if you end up trying to progress the game in your lane, it'll progress a lot quicker, which is Riot's way of telling you guys not to fucking lane swap. Yeah, I'm talking to you pro players. Once the quest is completed, you will receive a flat amount of gold increased for minions, champions, and assists for the remainder of the game. And now the most exciting part, you will be having a 7th slot for your boots, which makes it possible for you to have 6 items now. So late game scaling in terms of gold for ADCs is going to be a lot more increased, which makes AD carries a lot more OP than any other type of bot laner. This is mostly targeted at the mages bot lane who have been stomping in the recent times, and with the Mel buff that just came on this patch, it definitely feels a little bit oppressive to play against as somebody who plays both mages and ADCs. And so this is Riot's way of giving a big ol' fuck you to all the mage players out there. And I don't really blame them because I know how annoying it is to play against mages, and you'll know as well. The biggest reason as to why this change is going to be beneficial for ADCs and not mages is because mages actually scale much better off of their abilities and levels, whereas ADCs scale better off of gold because their DPS increases with the amount of AD they have, the amount of stats they have, whereas mages rely on specifically their abilities to do anything in the game. So ADCs can auto attack and deal a lot more damage, so they need gold. Mages rely on their spells, therefore need EXP. For everybody who's been wanting mages out of bot lane, this changes for you. And lastly, I forgot to mention, the crit damage is now going to be going from 175% for all champions to now 200%, which means that crit ADCs have already been buffed and now they're going to get super buffed. So if you're an ADC main, please get excited for the next season. I also forgot to add that top lane's new quest is actually one of the more OP ones, which will increase the amount of split pushing top laners can have. Even if they don't take TP, they will get TP once they complete their quest, which makes it possible for them to have 3 summoner spells. They also get an increased amount of EXP. That, on top of an increased double cap, will make it a little bit harder for other roles to fist fight with a top laner. So I'm really glad that the 2 roles that have felt the most powerless in these past few years have now been getting a little bit of a buff. But as ADCs, you still have to be a little bit wary of jungle ganks and supports moving around the map. At the same time, you're going to be scaling a lot faster than before. Getting gold won't be as much of a liability, which makes this season an extremely hopeful time for any and all ADCs. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.